Throughout the week, so I want to thank you all for being here. If you're glad to be here, say Aju.
Aju.
Okay. What?
Aju.
Are you glad to be here?
Aju.
Okay. Most of you, that's good enough. Yesterday I was really struggling with I actually didn't want to give the service at all. I told Hito I'm not going to do it. I'm going to chicken out and just show a video or something. And the reason that she kind of coached me through this meltdown I was having, and she said that it's probably, anyways, I realized that I was going to talk about something that I didn't really care about so much. Maybe some of you have been there, but it's hard to talk about something that you care about, but it's not really deeply in your heart, something that you're passionate about. So I've kind of changed the sermon into something that I can talk about from my heart, and I hope that you'll receive it well, and you can take what you can from it. So, God's vision for church and community in Chanoguk. That is a bold title, isn't it? How much would you pay me if I had the answer to this question? I'm just kidding. But it's a bold question, and if you've realized recently in this past year, the last 7 months, the council and Pastor Josh and myself have been doing a lot of different things to kind of feel the waters and test out in our community and try to figure out what is the vision and the purpose of church in the era of Chanoguk. And we've been trying to figure this out here in our local church. If you've noticed, we started with the year with doing a youth and young adult gathering at our house. We did a few of them where we kind of gathered the youth and young adults. Most of them were over 18 years old. We had 30 plus people there. And we just asked them, what is in your vision and your idea as a young unificationist who grew up in this movement, what do you feel like is the purpose of church and community? What is something that would excite you in a community? And what is something you feel like you could contribute to? And it was really eye-opening to hear the honest responses we got from many of them who have past hurts or difficulties in relationships with the church, not necessarily our church here in Toronto, but church in general. And the general sense from that meeting was everybody experiences God in different ways. And church or Sunday church is one way to experience God for some of us. And then we've also done things like living room, which the idea was to make Sunday service a more family-oriented, more horizontal, if you will, but I don't want to use that word, but more kind of finding common base and fellowship with each other, asking each other questions, answering. And we've got a really good response so far from the living room where people are able to get to know each other on a more intimate level. And we've also we've tried different things. A few weeks ago, we had a community vision casting right here, where we asked questions about what do you feel is the vision or the purpose of our community and church here in the Triangle. And it was really eye-opening to myself and also Pastor Josh, because we realized that a lot of families in our community really want to get to know other families on a deeper level. Outside of just church Sunday service, on a weekly, day-to-day basis, how can we create a sense of community more and see each other and just get to know each other as brothers and sisters more? Another outcome from that we realized is that witnessing and outreach in that area is something that is really dear and important to a lot of people, and a lot of our members get a big sense of value and importance from witnessing and sharing the blessing. And any lack of witnessing or blessing on some people's hearts feels like a sense of lack of value or even failure if we're not witnessing. I got a strong sense of that at the Vision Casting too, that witnessing is very important to people. So that's kind of what we've been doing, and so this last week in preparing this sermon, I was thinking about, okay, that's what our members think, this is maybe what I think is the purpose of church and community, but what is God's vision? What is God's idea of what Chanoguk, what community and church, family federation is? Blessed families are supposed to be like and look like and feel like in an era of Chanoguk, not in an era of wilderness, in an era of settlement in Chanoguk. So I went to God's Word, I opened the Chansangyong, Hito helped me find a bunch of Korean passages of True Father talking about the purpose of going to Sunday service, the purpose of family federation, and all of this. And I read through all of that, and it was interesting. But then I found this one passage in Chun Sung Young. It was the only one from, guess who? Not True Father, but from True Mother in the Chun Sung Young that I found. Interesting. And this is what struck me the hardest, struck a chord with me. Can someone read it? Oh, by the way, this is the speech that True Mother gave at True Father's Songhwa ceremony in Korea. So if you can imagine, if you were there, like I was, it was very deep. It was hard to grasp what she was saying, because it was a very emotional ceremony for many people, and for True Mother especially. But if I could ask someone to read that. Ms. Grace, thank you.
True Father accomplished many things before his passing. It remains for us to inherit and develop his work. I intend to take responsibility for this, standing in the forefront. This truly is difficult. It is not easy to maintain both the internal and external levels. From wherever you are, each of you will have to help me.
Thank you. So in the context of what is the purpose of Family Federation Church, community, the unification movement in the era of Cheongguk, after Foundation Day, now that our True Fathers in Spirit World, the True Mother is here with us, what is our drive and what is our next step? And I think she gave us the exact answer at the Songhwa ceremony. And then she continues, first, we must absolutely value the tradition True Parents established as much as we value our own life, and pass it down to our descendants, the future generations. True Parents established the tradition of love and heart, the tradition of the word and the rules and regulations, and the tradition of the culture of heart. First. Second, can someone read this? Space.
Second, we need to complete the ideal of the blessed family with which heaven has blessed us. The family is the cradle of true love, true life, and true lineage, and the base upon which God's purpose of creation is realized. Based on the 8 verses of the Family Pledge, you should uphold the tradition of the absolute good lineage with absolute faith. Our vision for peace evokes pure love, happy families, and a peaceful world. Blessed couples should raise their children through love and the word in a tradition of attending heaven with absolute love and attaining complete oneness.
Thank you. Complete the ideal of the blessed family. Third, she goes on, you have all received the blessing of being tribal messiahs, which is your mission and responsibility until the time we complete Cheongguk on earth. Tribal messiahship is the greatest of all blessings given by True Parents. Fourth, we will create a community based on a culture of heart, in harmony and unity with True Parents and True Families. Each of you, without exception, found the path of God's will because heaven chose you. It was based on the merits of your ancestors and because of the character you personally acquired. In order to follow True Parents and enter this realm of victory that we have now, you have faced immeasurable persecution. That makes us all a part of a single family, a community of heart centered on one parent. Division and conflict continue to afflict the world, and the unification family can become brothers and sisters who can easily transcend race, nation, and any barrier. If you can display an exemplary life of giving and living for the sake of others, this dream will surely come true, especially in this time of great transition in the province. I ask you to unite with True Parents in your heart. Aju!
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 In heart.
That's the True Mother's speech when Father passed away at his Songhwa ceremony. So that's a lot to digest in these 4 points that she mentions. Moving forward, these are the steps that the True Parents have directed moving forward. And I'm on board with all of them. And maybe you will resonate or understand this passage in your own unique way, and I hope that you will. And to summarize them, if I may, she finishes. Although true Father is in the spirit world, he is always with us. He exists without corporal form, but he never leaves our side even for a moment. What do you think he desires from us at this time? He desires that we march forward without pausing. God's providence has to continue throughout the world until, with true parents as the center, love and peace overflow, a culture of heart settles, and a new order is established. That's really exciting for me. And to summarize these 4 points is inherit the true parents' tradition and pass it down to the next generation, to our children, a tradition of love and heart. Second point was to establish happy, blessed families. Share the blessing as tribal messiahs. Number 4, create a community based on the culture of heart. This, I feel, in reading through Chan Sung Young, is the core of what a beautiful blueprint that we have from our true parents to create community with a culture of heart, to create blessed families with a culture of heart. And you can interpret these points as you will. For me personally, when I think about the community in relation to these points in our church, I think we have a beautiful opportunity right here in the Triangle, and I've said this before, because we have about 12 or 13 blessed families that we see every month, all the time, regularly coming to Sunday service, about 50 people, which is a good amount of people to really do something substantial. And to me, most importantly, what speaks to me is that most of our families and members in our community here have children under 7 years old. Did you know that? Most of our families in our community have children under 7 years old. And as a parent with young kids myself, I think about what is the vision and the focus of our community and our church, and this is what I really want to talk about, is I feel like, to summarize what my focus is going to be in my life, in this church, in our community, is summarize it with this picture. In this picture, young families, young couples. And some of them are happy I'm taking a photo, and some of them are not so happy. But my point is, sorry, I lost my voice. My point is that if we focus on the next generation of youth and children, especially in the community, because we have so many, if we focus on loving them, helping them grow, educating them, being part of their lives, I guarantee you, 2 things will happen. 1, those children will grow up in a community that they know they are loved and they can do anything. I guarantee it. If we love them with all our heart, not just our children, but everyone's children, they know that not only am I loved in my family, by my own parents, but I'm loved by my community, and I'm lovable by everyone in this world. Think about what that does to a child growing up. And number 2, if we focus on our children and youth, the second thing that will happen is our church will prosper long term, right? The future of our unification movement, of our community, and our family is secure because they know that when I go to this church, when I go to this community, when I meet these people, when I go to worship, I am loved unconditionally as a child of God. Think about the lessons that they learned from that. And this doesn't just come from I'll give you some examples. I'll never forget growing up some of my fondest memories as a child. And the reason I feel passionate about this is because as a child, I was fortunate enough to receive a lot of love from my community, I feel, and I grew up with a lot of the youth. We did summer camps at Elk Shoals. Remember those? A lot of the dads got together and they had summer camps. We went to the beach in the winter, right? We organized beach retreats for families. And those, we only did it, every year or something for a number of years, but it really stuck with me to this day, having those experiences. Huh? Sorry?
We did it for 9 years.
9 years.
10 years. 11 years.
Every year, and it really stuck with me. Those are big examples. I remember being a 4-year-old, 5-year-old kid, and Aunt Gail Davis would take me outside the church by myself, just me and her, and we would look for 4-leaf clovers. And to this day, I remember that. It brings me to tears to think that, somebody outside of my family loves me so much that I can have this relationship with them. That's such a beautiful lesson to learn. So whenever we see kids in our church, or we're thinking about how can we make our community and church more kid-friendly, or learn, educate, and grow with them, let's really focus on that. And I guarantee you if we do that moving forward, not only that, of course, but if that's a focus, I guarantee you it will grow to be amazing people who love this community and love the church and love true parents and God, right? And our church will prosper. So that's the message I wanted to bring. Thank you very much. God bless. So one thing we're doing is we're in the process of making a playground in our backyard. So thank you for everyone that's supporting that project. But if you have any other ideas to support our youth and growing young adults and children, please let me know, or Pastor Josh will accept. Okay? All right. And we got that, and then now we're going to move forward with the weekly update. Right?